Jim O'Donnell. I work for a company called Wolf Industries. Wolf Industries manufactures the Twice as Sharp, which is a small bench grinder type of a system. The Twice as Sharp has a white aluminum outside wheel, 120 grit with a 400 grit honing wheel. It also has remanufactured the machine back in 1991 to accept a diamond wheel and a polishing wheel. And a honing block kit would come with that, and that's the low-end version of what we sell to do higher-end styling shears for edging them. And we also manufacture the Heritage Flathone, which is a fully designed machine for convexing the shears. And we also manufacture a machine called a corrugator. It's actually for cutting teeth into the edge of scissors. So if you're doing a lot of work for barbers or groomers, it's a good piece of equipment for that. And we have a rotary blade sharpener as well. So that's the products that Wolf actually manufactures. We do sell some lines of shears as well, our own line, and then a number of other lines as well, including the Bonica shears, and we appreciate them for that. And I also publish a newsletter called On the Edge. On the Edge is an industry-specific newsletter. It's not like Sharpener's Report. Sharpener's Report is across the board. It's all different kinds of sharpening. So you may see something about drill bits or end mills or other pieces of equipment that are out there that need to be sharpened. What I specialize in is just scissors and clipper blade. Just to show something a little bit different than what most people would teach, I'm going to show sharpening on the Okami, on the Heritage, and I'm going to show polishing on the Okami, and just show the differences between the two. I'm going to walk through basic sharpening, if you wish, on the Twice as Sharp, because who in here does anything with industrial scissors? Let me see a show of hands. Okay, so there's about 5 or 6 people, and who is only styling salons. That's all that they really go after, is only styling salons. Okay, a couple. And who does styling salons and groomers mainly in here? Okay, so that's pretty much what most would do. There's good money in all of those aspects of sharpening, and depending upon how you're pricing, of course, as well. So some of the things to take into consideration with that. So the 3 simple machines that make up a scissor. The first is an inclined plane. Okay, everybody knows what an inclined plane is from school, right? You have a ramp, that's an inclined plane. Let's say you want to push a barrel up onto a truck. This would be where you're trying to push it up to the truck bed. Is it easy to push that barrel up onto the truck with a ramp that's like that? Not easy, is it? But if you take the ramp and make it like that, does that make it easier to push it up onto the truck? Okay, so that's what the edge is on a shear. It's an inclined plane, right? If you have, now imagine it going at the 90 instead of the 180. Okay, so it's doing a cut, and the force that it takes to move through with a steeper angle like this, it's much easier to cut than if you had a shallower angle, which would be much blunter. You understand? So you can adjust your inclined plane. You also have a spring as well. Now it's not a coil spring, right? It's a compression spring, and that's where the blades are actually bent in towards one another slightly to cause a flex, and it causes like a compression. That compression is called what? Set. Okay, and that set of the scissor is what allows the blades to shear together. So those will shear together to make that work. You can adjust the set. Now you also have the lever as well, and that's where the fulcrum point is in a scissor, where it actually pivots, right? So if you have a scissor that has a short blade and a long handle, you have a high leverage scissor. If you have a scissor with a long blade and a short handle, you have a low leverage scissor. Now who in here has ever sharpened a 10-inch dog grooming shear? Okay. Do they cut well at the tip all the time? Not always, do they? And that's because of the leverage. You need more leverage out of the tip. That's why a 10-inch shear will never cut as well as an 8.5-inch shear out of the tip, because the leverage is different. Now you can edge it in different ways to help adjust for that. You can increase the angle at the tip to make it cut a little bit better, but then it's going to wear faster, because typically for it to cut at the tip, you have to have more set for it to cut well at the tip on a longer blade. So all of those things play in with one another. What we can adjust as sharpeners is we can adjust the inclined plane, we can adjust the angle, and we can adjust the set. We can adjust the fulcrum point, can we? Can't re-drill a hole. Well, you could, but you wouldn't want to. Re-drill a hole in the scissor and adjust where that pivot point is. So those are the 3 parts of a scissor, the 3 simple machines that make up a scissor. So let me go ahead and just do a couple of simple techniques. Let me grab some shears. Who in here sharpens out of a van? Okay. And who in here only does pickup and delivery? Okay, so just one. Okay. Any of those ways will work. I know people that are successful doing all. Most of the time, taking your business there and doing it on the spot is usually the best way to do it. I've sharpened in 3 different ways. One is with my roll around that I have here. This is my mobile station for going in salon. I also sharpened out of the back of a van, and I've also sharpened out of the back of a Durando as well. where it's basically just lift the hatch and you work out of the back of the vehicle that way. Of course, climate is going to dictate where you can do that and when you can't, and weather will as well. So there's numerous ways that you can set up depending upon whether or not you're part-time or full-time. Just remember that when you're setting up a vehicle, the most important thing you can think about is ergonomics. All right, so this, I'm just going to pass this blade around so you can see what I'm working on. This is a Taiwanese shear. Okay, this is a cast shear as well. So we'll talk a little bit about stuff like that. I'll pass that just around if we could, please. On that, that's just a fully convex, hollow ground cast shear. You can tell that it's cast on the inside. There is a little lip on the inside of this shear right here. And if it's a very crisp 90-degree lip, that usually means that it's cast. On this shear, I typically would not bend the blade and would not bend the handle either. I'm going to work on this blade. This blade is just like the other one that's working on just the finger part of the tool. So we'll go ahead and start on this. This is the Heritu. The Heritu is very similar to all of the other Flathones that are out there on the market. Let me grab my 15. I'm just going to work on the 15 disc for right now. Now I have a shear that basically would just be dull. Okay? If you have a shear that has a lot of damage on it, like a lot of nicks and a lot of dings, or it's been overused, because we all know that now. Who in here is a stylist? Thank you. Did you go back to the back?
Yeah.
At all? Okay. Okay, so you're a stylist. Who else is a stylist? You're a stylist. Okay.
Former
So
stylist.
former stylist in the back. Okay, so we have at least 4 stylists here. Now, would you agree with this statement that probably stylists should have their shears sharpened more than they actually do?
Yes.
Okay. And that's really what we run into a lot of times as professional sharpeners. I'm working a route in Spartanburg that one of the former students that I had is retired out on, and he asked me to just do a few of his shops. So I have gone into this shop a number of times already, and it's been about a good 4 months since their shears have been sharpened. Do you think that those shears probably need some attention, at least one of them in the salon? Now, eventually it's going to come down to a point where they're going to say something has to be done, those need to be sharpened. And they're going to hand it to me or somebody else that happens to walk in at the right time. Who else has noticed in this industry as well that this can be a little bit of a hunter-gatherer business? Because a lot of times it's just being there at the right time. Would you say that that's true as well? Sure. And it really is. So don't be insulted by that. That is part of the business. You will have a percentage of customers that will be loyal only to you. But really, for the most part, most people don't think about getting their shears sharpened until they can't use them anymore. And that's when they think about it, and then it seems like they wouldn't give it to anybody, all of a sudden they'll give it to anybody that has a pulse. So that's another thing too that we have to take into consideration, and that we fight in this industry as well, because then usually if they give it to anybody that has a pulse, and they're not really a true professional sharpener, what do we end up having to do? We end up having